Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to a recap of the Challenge Season 38 Ride or Dies, episode number 19. Now, episode number 19, that sounds kind of dry and boring, right? So let's call it what it really is, the final episode, the end of the season, the episode in which we find out which duo is going to win and split $1 million for winning TJ's 100-hour finale. It seems like so long ago that we started off with, it seems like there were 50 or 60 people competing in this thing. We're down to our final six, three duos, Tori and Devin, Nani and Bananas, and Aneesa and Jordan. One of these duos is going to win $1 million. How exciting. Oh, can you imagine that? So before we talk about tonight, let's talk real quick about what's happened for the last couple of days. Just a recap of where they're starting off this evening. Remember that last week, the last episode, we had Nani and Bananas take over the lead in this thing by eating the pasta so quickly in the pasta eating challenge. Pasta and bread, ice cream, but mainly a whole lot of pasta. So they took the lead. So as we start off this episode, we've got Nani and Bananas starting off in the path first. Right behind them, we've got Tori and Devin. And then leading up the rear, as we've pretty much seen the entire 100 hours, we've got Aneesa and Jordan bringing up the rear to finish up the final evening. Now, order doesn't matter quite as much at this point in time because we quickly see all three teams come upon a field, and sitting in the middle of that field is a helicopter. And you know what a helicopter means, right? They're going up. Yes, yeah, they're going up. It is going to be a challenge involving a helicopter, and here's how it's going to work. One at a time, each of the duos is going to get on a helicopter, strapped into one side, strapped onto the other side. They're going to have a number of chalk bombs. They're split up between the two of them. They're going to fly over a field. It's got a lot of targets of the challenge contestants on the field. As they're flying over, they have to throw these chalk bombs. They have to land on the target. For every target they land on, they get 1 point. And at the end of the competition, at the end of this checkpoint, whoever has the most number of points wins this particular competition. Now, I mentioned that they throw chalk bombs. Here's where placement, who got to the field first, who's done best on these last couple of days worth of challenge, here's where it comes into play. They aren't all going to have the same number of chalk bombs. It's going to be set up based on how they did. So in third place, Aneesa and Jordan, and they're going to have 15 bombs to split up amongst the two of them to throw at the targets. Second place, Tori and Devin are going to have 20 chalk bombs. Bananas and Nani, because they got to the field first, was in first place until the checkpoint. They get 25 chalk bombs. 25 versus Aneesa and Jordan's 15. Quite a difference, right? But you still have to be able to hit the target. Now, the other thing that Bananas and Nani get to do because they're in first place, not only do they get the most number of chalk bombs, but they get to decide the order in which everyone is going to compete in, which is huge in one of these kind of challenges because there certainly does seem to be a little bit of a learning curve. So, of course, Bananas and Nani, biggest fear is Tori and Devin in terms of who they think's the biggest threat. So they've picked Tori and Devin to go first, Aneesa and Jordan to go second, and then Bananas and Nani getting to go last. See how the other two duos go, help them figure out the strategy on how to. And yeah, is there a strategy to throwing chalk bombs? Well, as it turns out, there is a little bit because as this it's not just floating. This helicopter is going fairly fast across the field, so you have to lead these targets a little bit. My thinking was try to just drop them straight down and figure out the timing. You can't do that. These bombs, they have to explode, and they look like plastic or glass balls. It takes a little bit of force to throw these things down in order for them to blow up. So you couldn't just drop them. You had to throw them. So yes, there is a learning curve. Bananas and Nani seems like they're going to benefit from being able to go last. So let's talk about how the actual challenge goes. First up is Tori and Devin. Not a great start. Again, there is a learning curve. Not a great start, but remember, they had 20 chalk bombs. And of those 20, they hit 10 targets. So they half their targets hit. 10 out of 20 is that enough to win this thing? We don't know yet. It seems like they did pretty well. So that's the starting point. The number to beat is 10 out of 20. Next up is Aneesa and Jordan. They're having a hard time with it. We'll just leave it at that. there are certain challenges that I never thought they would do fantastic at, but I thought they had a little bit better chance on this one. It just isn't working out. They're just not able to hit the targets. Really, neither one of them is doing that well. But because they're not hitting the targets, Aneesa eventually ends up giving all the rest of her chalk bombs to Jordan. As that says, you've got to split them right down the middle. Aneesa lets Jordan have all the rest of them take his shots. I think it's pretty smart. Now, part of it maybe she thinks that he's has a better chance of hitting him than she does. But I think more importantly, as much as she feels like he's been kind of griping at her about her speed with running and everything else, the whole competition, she's probably tired of hearing a little bit of a criticism from him. So at this point, she says, "You take them all. Kind of win or lose, it's all on you, Jordan." At this point in time, so she hands off the rest of her chalk bombs to Jordan. He tries, but he's just not in the cards for this duo on this particular checkpoint. They get 6 points, so obviously they aren't winning this competition. Tori and Devin are in the lead as we come down to Bananas and Nany. Tori and Devin hit 10. Bananas and Nany have 25 chalk bombs. They only have to hit 11. Less than 50% is going to win this thing for them. So they start across the field throwing their chalk bombs. It's just not working for the two of these. It's Nany's not having any great success, and then we look over and see Bananas. He's not doing any better. It's not doing well. Typical situation. We don't really know how many targets they've hit until they've gotten done, but they do show them missing a lot of targets. So it turns out when TJ announces the winner that in the end the winner is Tori and Devin. Yeah, they led for most of this finale. They got caught up and passed in the very last checkpoint last week. It doesn't matter. They've won this competition. They've won, and TJ has told us before the start, you're going to want to win this competition. It's going to give you an advantage. It's going to really pay off going forward. We don't know what it is at this point, but now that Tori and Devin win, we find out that the advantage they get is they get to pick the order of how the teams, how the duos are going to be released to run down the path to get to their next checkpoint. The first duo is going to leave. They're going to have to wait, I think, 5 minutes. Then the next duo leaves. After another 5 minutes, the final duo leaves. Tori and Devin get to pick the lead. TJ tells them, says, you're going to run down this road. You're going to reach a part in the path where you have to either go left or right. Pick whichever one you want, but make that decision. The other two duos, you're going to reach that path, do the same thing. In terms of picking the order, you want to go first, right? I mean, that's what I thought. I was thinking, could there be some kind of twist that the first person, they put themselves more at risk and the second person gets to see how they play the game or something? Don't know, but just to be safe, just to be conservative, Tori and Devin say, yeah, we'll go first. I would too. They go first, so they get a 5-minute lead. Behind that, they've picked Aneesa and Jordan to go. So Aneesa and Jordan get to go next. And then finally, Tori and Devin, Bananas and Nany bringing up the rear as they go to what's sounding like potentially the final bit of TJ's finale for this season. So again, TJ tells them they'll find a fork in the road, pick left or right. Don't know anything beyond that, but pick left or right and then just go that direction. So we see the three teams taking off again, a 5-minute gap between each of them. And we see Tori and Devin reach the fork in the road first. It's a fork in the road in the middle of a gigantic cornfield. And it certainly looks like a little bit of not just a cornfield, but a corn maze, which Devin, he's so good at puzzles. Got to think he was probably excited when he saw a maze and thought maybe that would come into play. I'm not sure they could tell it was a maze when they first got there because from their viewpoint, all you see is corn, right? But they get to the fork in the road. It says go left or right. Tori and Devin choose to go left. This is about 36 hours to go left in the challenge. It's nighttime. A little creepy looking, but yeah, it's nighttime as they reach this fork. So really curious to see how this is all going to play out. They go to the left. Bananas and Nany also get to the path. If I recall, no, I think the next ones that got there were Aneesa and Jordan. They actually go to the right. And then finally we get Bananas and Nany. They choose to go to the left. So they're following the same path that Tori and Devin are. Again, my thinking is, all right, it's a maze. Maybe one side's a little bit quicker, easier than the other side. They're trying to get to the center. Nah, they fooled me because that's not what we got, what we get. Instead, we see Tori and Devin show up first to a campsite. Just in the middle of this cornfield, there's a little section cut away. There's some lit up little areas to light up the campsite a little bit. We see a couple of tents, and they're just standing there saying, well, what do we do now? Are we just going to hang out here? It's a little bit of a mystery to them, a little bit of a mystery to us as viewers as well. A little bit later, Bananas and Nany come up on the same campsite. They also don't know what's going on. Aneesa and Jordan, who took the other path, they find a campsite as well. Separate campsite, but all three of them are now at two different campsites, and we're all wondering what's going on. They're kind of waiting around saying, should we try to take off somewhere? Do we need to go to sleep? What are we going to do? TJ solves the question for us because at this point in time, all the lights light up in this field. We see from a viewer, again, we're seeing a high altitude type look view, but we see that there is a huge setup, an arena of some sort, set up in the middle of this cornfield. Bananas and Nany, Tori and Devin are at a campsite on one side, a big circular maze, the arena in the middle. They're on one side, and Aneesa and Jordan are on the other side. And TJ tells them, says, come to me. That's what you've got to do. He says, we've got 18 hours left. Over a big speaker, he says, we've got 18 hours left. Y'all come to me. He releases them in the order that they reach their camp. So Tori and Devin get to leave first, then Bananas and Nany, and then Aneesa and Jordan. He says, find your way to the center, and once you get here, we'll proceed at this point in time. This is a hard competition for us as viewers to watch, to tell how they're doing. They're just running through a bunch of corn, right? So you can't really see how well. And you, on a maze, you could be fairly close, but if you're going down the wrong path, there's a lot of backtracking. So it's really hard to tell who's doing best as they go through this maze. But we can certainly see who's getting along with each other and who is not. Bananas has done enough of these finals. He understands there is going to be a lot of value to getting to TJ first, or as quickly as possible. So he is really pushing. He's yelling at Nany, saying, we can't stop. We got to go full speed, run. Nany is yelling at him, saying, I can't. You got to stop. You got to slow down. At one point, it looks like Bananas is probably a good 50 yards in front of Nany. He's already made the corners, coming back down a different part of a path. So Nany is not happy with Bananas. She's getting upset that he won't stop as much as she's telling him to. They're just not getting along very well. They haven't gotten along well this entire season, really. This isn't anything new, but they are not getting along well at all. We do have the other two seeming to move at a slower pace. I mean, Devin is always fairly methodical with these types of challenges. We saw it with the bike riding earlier, some different things throughout the season. Same thing here. The other two, they're going as fast as they can, but they're not pushing it the way Bananas is. They're being a little more careful about which path they go down, sticking together, things like that. So who's gonna win it? Is Bananas going to get a payoff by pushing as hard as he is, or is it going to be one of the others? Well, in the end, Tori and Devin get to TJ first. Now, they were released first, so perhaps that isn't a huge surprise. They were released first. They were methodical about their approach, so they have reached TJ first. Bananas and Nany show up just a little bit after that. Nany's still not very happy at all. And then finally, we've got Aneesa and Jordan showing up. Seem like quite a ways behind. Nany is still incredibly angry with Bananas for leaving her behind. She's telling him, saying, look, my knee was already messed up. You've made it a whole lot worse at this point in time. I'm dying here. You wouldn't listen to me. You were just so insistent. You killed me. And at first, Bananas trying to argue back, but when she starts talking about her knee, he says, I didn't know. I'm sorry. And it looks like they kind of made up at the very end of it, but not happy. Just different approaches to the game. So what does it all mean? Now that all three duos are here with TJ in the middle of this cornfield, everything lit up and bright as day. Well, we find out that the final part of the finale may not have room for three separate duos. Now, as TJ tells us, right now, one duo's journey is going to come to an end tonight. It's going to happen right now. And it turns out that we've got 17 hours left in the competition. The duo that got to TJ first is safer this evening. But Tori and Devin are fine. They're going to be competing against someone for that $1 million. But we've got Bananas and Nany competing against Aneesa and Jordan to see which is the other duo that will be competing against Tori and Devin for the grand prize at the end of it. You got to think that Tori is certainly going to be cheering on Aneesa and Jordan, right, to win this thing over Bananas and Nany. As tight as Aneesa and Tori are, it would be interesting to see a final with those two ladies as close friends as they are, to see them competing against each other for the final. But doesn't matter. They don't have any say in it. It's going to be the other two duos that are competing. So what's the competition? How are we going to find out who gets so close but doesn't quite make it? Well, the name of the competition is Balls In, and we've seen this challenge before. Big old circle in the middle of this arena. In the middle of the circle is looks like a trash can, a receptacle of some sort. And then outside that, we see another ring, a little smaller than the overall arena, but a smaller ring outside the trash can. It's going to be the competition where one person fights to get the ball deposited in the receptacle. The other person is trying to stop them. As we discover, there's actually this inner ring has been created so that no one throws each other into the trash can, I guess. If you get inside that ring, there's no more grappling, there's no more wrestling involved. It's kind of a safe space. I wonder if that was the original plan or this was put in place after Olivia's horrific injury earlier in the final. That the safety folks may have been saying, yeah, maybe we'll add just a little bit more to this final, because I don't recall seeing this little inner circle inside which you couldn't wrestle anymore. Don't remember seeing that before, but we've got it this time. So again, that's what it's going to be. One person trying to put the ball in, the other person on another team trying to stop them. We learned there's going to be a men's round, a women's round for each of three separate rounds. First to get 3 wins, 3 points, wins a thing, survives to fight another day. So we find out the first up is going to be women, and it's going to be Aneesa versus Nany, with Nany starting on offense. So Nany's got the ball, volleyball, soccer ball looking thing. Nany's got the ball. She has to get past Aneesa, put it in a receptacle. She does. She gets a point. Once she finishes up, Aneesa then has the ball. She gets a chance to try to score on Nany. So they'll each get a chance. And then we'll flip over, do the same thing with the guys going each direction. Interesting matchup, Aneesa versus Nany. Aneesa certainly a little bulkier than Nany, a little bit more strength, whereas Nany's got a little bit more speed, and they're both trying to work to their advantage. Nany on her round with the ball, she's just too fast for Aneesa. She gives a little bit of a juke. She gets around Aneesa rather easily, it appears. Runs right to the receptacle. Looks like an NBA player slamming that ball in the receptacle. Except sometimes dunks don't work, and that's what happens here. Nany is in such a hurry to get the ball in the receptacle. She misses. The ball just kind of bounces off the side, does not go in. No point for Nany. A mistake on her part, because again, remember, we've got an inner circle. Once she got inside that inner circle, Aneesa couldn't touch her, couldn't grab her, couldn't wrestle her to the ground. All Nany had to do was go over and very carefully set it ball in. Adrenaline, your nerves going, I understand completely how it works, but the end result, she doesn't get the ball in the receptacle. She's lost her chance for a first point. Could affect her and Bananas quite a bit. So with no point there, it's now Aneesa's turn. Aneesa has a different strategy. No juking around all that. She just goes straight. She looks like an NFL fullback, straight in, straight towards Nany. And it looks like maybe she's going to work because Nany certainly gets backed up originally. But Nany is able to wrap her up around the legs, take her down. Aneesa can't get to the trash can. So 0 points for both ladies to start this off. It's 0-0. So next up is the guys, Bananas versus Jordan. Bananas going to start off on offense with the ball. He does pretty well. It's not easy. They're both kind of just muscling it through. Bananas, why, he celebrated his 44th birthday, I think, during this season. He's still got some power and some strength because he muscles through. He manages to get the ball landed in the receptacle. He scores a point. Jordan's not giving up anything either. He's fighting for everything he's got. Jordan also muscles his way through. He gets a point also. So both guys score. So after the first round, It's 1-1. Everything is all tied up. So now we're back to the women again. Nany, if this is before, she's able to get around Aneesa fairly quickly, get into the inner circle where she has safety. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me kind of deal. First time, yeah, you just aren't thinking. She does the same thing. Yet again, she gets past Aneesa. She gets in the inner circle. She still misses getting the ball in the receptacle. Bananas is going ballistics, and all you have to do is just drop it in. That's all you have to do. Nany knows. She said, "I know, Johnny. I know. Just stop." Major mistake, incredibly huge mistake. So once again, she does not get a point. So now it's Aneesa's turn. Aneesa actually muscles her way in this point, fights her way through, struggles through, gets the point. So now it's 2-1 going to the guys at this point in time. Crunch time. Banana starts with the ball. He gets the point. It's tied 2-2. Jordan now has a chance to make it 3-2. But it's all on Bananas. Bananas does what he has to do. He trips up Jordan, not easily, but he trips up Jordan. It keeps him from getting the receptacle. So once again, it's a 2-2 tie. We're going back to the ladies to potentially decide who's going to win this thing. Round number 3, tie competition, as close as it gets. So Nany once more has the ball. Once more, she gets past Aneesa rather easily. This time, she does what she needs to do. Once she's inside the inner circle, she very carefully goes over, sets the ball in. Treating it like an egg that's about to crack. So sets the ball in. Yes, she gets a point. So it is 3-2. Now, it's not the first person of 3. It's the first round where someone has 3 and there's a difference. So theoretically, if Aneesa can score in her half of this round, make it 3-3, we're going to go back to the guys. And I guess they'll go to tiebreakers at this point in time if they finish a round and they still have a tie score. So the all-important round, Aneesa is going to have the ball. Here's the problem. While trying to stop Nany, again, Nany's juking around a little bit. Aneesa twists her knee, collapses her knee. Is probably the better description. It does not look like she's doing well at all on this knee, but she's a fighter. She's not going to give up. That's not the way Aneesa plays this thing. But she has definitely hurt her knee. Of course, Nany has a hurt knee as well. It's been a tough season in terms of injuries, but it's all going to come down to Nany to Aneesa and that ball, and can she get it into the receptacle? She tries, but Nany, you got to play for the game. You got to play for the victory, right? Nany may or may not go for Aneesa's knee. She certainly goes for her legs, which, as anyone who's played football, you know that's how you make a tackle. You go for the legs, you go low. She does that. She certainly wraps Aneesa up around the knees, takes her down. So Aneesa doesn't score, but Aneesa also is very much in pain at this point. She's tweaked the knee even worse. She and Jordan are out of the game, but also she's just hurting. And Nany's feeling bad. Nany's saying, "I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just trying to score." And Aneesa understands. She said, "No, you do what you got to do." We all understand Nany, but Aneesa's very, very upset. I'm not sure how much of it's pain, how much of it is just that she's lost yet another opportunity to make it to the final and compete for that money. I hated to see it. I love the passion that Jordan played this game with. Man, that guy, put me on some reality show with Jordan somewhere down the road. I'd love to play with him. He's incredible the way he plays the game. Aneesa never quits. I really was kind of hoping they'd make it. They didn't. The good thing is, I don't know about Jordan. We'll see, but certainly Aneesa's going to be back again and again and again. We'll have her back until finally she either wins it or she starts collecting Social Security. I'm not sure which will be first. We'll see. But I hate to see him go. I really was cheering for Aneesa this season. It's not going to work out though. We now have our final 2 duos. Someone's winning a whole bunch of money. We've got Bananas and Nany competing against Tori and Devin for the big enchilada at the end of this thing. I hated seeing Aneesa and Jordan go, but that's the way it works out. So we've got the teams go back to their campsites. At this point in time, if I recall, They each went to a separate campsite to spend the night with the idea that the next day they're going to have the final. We're going to see what happens. Next morning, they wake up. They've got 8 hours left to go. But it's either going to be a long competition potentially, which is a little scary, or there's a whole lot of sitting around time. And as it turns out, there's a whole lot of sitting around time. Yeah, they spend all day waiting to see what's going to happen until finally, once it gets dark, it's when we find out we're gonna finish this thing up. Which I don't know, it's cool. It's with all the lights and everything else. It certainly makes for a more exciting looking final. So yeah, it's nighttime. Lights are on everywhere. We're ready to see who's going to win this $1,000,000. Both duos are heading back to the center of the cornfield maze to see TJ, to see what's involved in this final challenge. But before we find out what they're going to have to do, we do get a little, thought it was going to be help, and not really help, but cheering squads coming back in. We see that Jordan and Aneesa come back in, and Horatio and Olivia have come back in as well, just to watch, just to cheer on the final two duos. So these are the other two that started off the final. I was glad to see them. I was glad to see Olivia. She's looking a little rough. She had said something about surgery, broken in 7 different places. Her whole face is yellowed and bruised. Not looking well, but she's also not bleeding all over like she was last time we saw her. So Horatio and Olivia are back. I'm glad they're getting a little credit at the very end. Aneesa and Jordan as well. So they're going to watch as we finish up this final competition. Final competition for $1 million is called Level Up. It's a challenge that we saw before. I think Horatio was on it. Was Nelson on it? I can't remember who else was in it. But basically, the goal is a whole bunch of different rooms with different materials inside or different things that you have to do to break through into the next room. Each duo is going to be going from the opposite directions through 4 separate rooms. Once they get to the middle, the lever, whoever pulls that lever first wins the $1 million. Cool competition. The first room involves pulling 9 spears out of, not gypsum board. It looks a lot harder than this. Concrete panels, maybe. I'm not really sure what the material is, but 9 big metal spears along both walls and up on the ceiling as well. It's all a matter of grabbing these spears, pulling them down, twisting around to make the hole bigger, doing whatever you can before you can finally pull it through a hole, go set it off in a stand off to the side. We saw the same spears earlier in the season. And so it's a hard competition. It does seem like Bananas and Nany maybe are working well together. As hard as they are not working well together earlier, it seems like at this point they're doing a little bit better. But they're working well. Certainly Tori and Devin are keeping up as best they can. But in the end, Bananas and Nany actually finish first by just a couple of spears. It's not a runaway, but they've taken the early lead with this first room with the spears in the walls and such. The next room, what an incredible room. It looks fairly simple, maybe, but incredibly complex, because the next room consists of 200 separate 30-pound cinder blocks. 200 times 30, 2,000, 6,000 pounds worth of cinder blocks. They have to break through a little wall. It's just typical gypsum board or something. Once they get through that, they discover that the entire room is filled with these cinder blocks. They have to take it out of the room so they can get to the other side. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because on these cinder blocks, a pattern has been painted. They have to take the cinder blocks outside the room, reassemble the cinder blocks to form a logo, a puzzle, a picture based on the pattern that's been sprayed on it. So there's a little puzzle making involved, which Tori and Devin, of course, they're going to like that. So it's a lot of hard work getting these cinder blocks out, then putting it back together as well. This is certainly Tori and Devin's strength, it seems like to me. And they're doing a good job sorting out the pieces. Now, in terms of moving the pieces out, they're probably about equal. Everyone's fighting hard for this. But Tori and Devin seem a little bit more methodical about sorting out. I think it's Devin that says we're going to sort out the pieces that have paint on the sides versus paint on the ends. We're going to keep them all in separate pieces. They're doing it the way you would put together a jigsaw puzzle to some degree: corner, sides, middle, everything else. Bananas and Nany trying to go a little bit faster, but not maybe spending as much time sorting pieces out in the beginning, and it's going to cost them, as we're going to find out, because we discovered that Bananas and Nany have made a major mistake in the puzzle. The first thing they've done, as we start seeing these puzzles assembled, we realize that on the side it has kind of the challenge logo that has to be assembled. Well, we soon realize that Tori and Devin have have the logo starting on pretty much the lowermost row of center blocks. Bananas and Nany have a row of blank center blocks. Then they start the logo. Unfortunately, as they get to the very top, they realize that that means that the logo doesn't fully complete at the very top. They've run out of cinder blocks. They can't do that. They're going to have to completely take that side down, start their logo one row lower. Major setback in time, and they start arguing again, arguing a lot about how to do it, what pieces to watch out for. Just not getting along, and so they're trying, but certainly Tori and Devin have taken advantage of the situation, going a little bit faster. They've got a major lead. In fact, they finished this puzzle first. They're going back into the next room. Bananas and Nany are still trying to reassemble this puzzle. We'll talk about that more in just a second, because the next room involves breaking down the wall. Once they get into the wall down, they get into the room, they discover completely filled to the top with sand. So they've got to clean out all the sand before they can go to the other side, break down that final wall. Once they break down that final wall, that's it. The lever's on the other side. They know they're getting close. They know they have the advantage over Bananas and Nany at this point. Bananas and Nany know they're behind, but they're trying. But eventually they realize that not only did they have to drop everything down one level, but as they get it built back up again, they realize that they're missing a couple of pieces. And they figure out it's got to be somewhere internal, the middle piece, the middle column that you can't even see at this point in time. Some piece is buried in the middle of these 6,000 pounds of cinder blocks that has the painted part on it that they need. They understand they're going to have to take the whole thing down completely. Meanwhile, Tori and Devin have already started work on the final room. They see the writing on the wall, Bananas and Nany. They stop at this point. They say, yeah, we're not going to do it. We're not going to finish. I kind of hated to see that. I get it. There's a point where you just say it's not going to happen, but I would have been trying to finish anyway. It may have been the next day, but I think just the chance to say you finished the final, even if you didn't win it, I think I would have done that puzzle, figured it out, still gotten through, and everyone else may have been on a plane heading back home from Argentina. I'd still be trying to solve the puzzle. They didn't do that. They understand there's no way they can catch up at this point in time. So they just watch Tori and Devin, almost a victory lap at this point in time. Tori and Devin know at this point they're going to win. They would have won anyway, but now with Bananas, not even caring. All they got to do is just a little bit more work, and they know they got $1 billion sitting in their pockets. Oh, wow. Impressive. They get through the sand. They're very happy as they're doing it, as anyone would be. They break through to the final section. They pull a lever, and yes, the winners of the challenge this season, Devin and Tori. Congratulations to both of them. And I got to say, I love seeing them. I would have been happy with any of these four duos in the final making it. But certainly Devin, even though he badmouths Big Brother so much and all that, I still was kind of cheering for Devin. I think he plays the game very strategically, which is the way I feel like I'd play the game as well. So cheering for Devin. He's finally won his challenge. He is excited. Tori is excited. They finally have a win under their belts. I kept waiting to hear TJ say, all right, now one of you is going to decide whether they keep it all or they actually split it. We saw that past, right? What a brutal decision to make. Nah, it's not going to be the case. This is ride or die. You don't kill off your partner at the very end. So they're going to split $1 million, $500,000 to each of them. I really am so happy for them. That's it. They've made it through. I'm also happy to see Aneesa and Jordan there. Jordan in particular, cheering for Tori. They did not get along well throughout the season. There's still some love there, at least respect, right? But they had some really tense moments throughout the season. I'm glad to see that Jordan at the end is cheering for his ex, that he's happy for. It was just a nice final ending to the challenge to see these two win it. Everyone else there supporting them. And they do a little extra. Yeah, remember on Survivor, gave away all the money to a veterans fund when he won Survivor. Well, Tori and Devin aren't giving away all their money, but they do announce that they are going to do something a little different. Season 38, so they've decided they're going to give $38,000 to each of the other four people that made it to the final that didn't win. So Horatio, Olivia, Anissa, and Jordan, they're each getting $38,000 just out of the goodness of Tori and Devin's heart of making it there. It's kind of cool. I mean, they've got to be grateful for that. They're going to be back to play again, right? I mean, I'm sure it was done purely out of the goodness of their heart, good nature, and all that. But at the same time, if you're going to come back and compete with all these people potentially next season, doesn't it help you become a little more friendly with them? If you just turned around and gave them $38,000 last year, doesn't it make it just a little bit easier maybe to create some alliances, things like that? I think Devin's already thinking ahead, but I do think they did it just out of pure kindness, and I love to see it as well. You know, in Big Brother, we're not allowed to share money with anyone else. You can't make promises. You can't, after the fact, you aren't supposed to give money. There's none of that allowed. Challenge a little bit differently. So, yeah, we finish off. Everyone's happy. It was a fantastic ending. I really enjoyed this season. I wasn't sure Ride or Dies, and they split apart from each other. Then they came back. There were some parts where I wasn't certain how it was going to work out, but all in all, I like seeing it. It does seem like it's a long time ago when this thing started, but a fantastic season. I love the winners who won it. I want to see Olivia and Horatio back next season. I want to see Anissa and hopefully Jordan back next season. Uh, yeah, it was a fun one. Hope y'all enjoyed it, guys. I had a blast. We'll see season 39. Who knows what TJ's got in mind? He's done a 100-hour finale. Maybe next year they'll have 168 hours. Just stretch it out to an entire week. Let's see what happens. Guys, until next season, y'all have a fantastic one. Congratulations to Tori and Devin. Thanks to all y'all. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143